attack in Congress today. One is the rail banking law, which gives the opportunity to get control of the property, and the other was the enhancement program in the Federal Transportation Act that permitted the money that we were able to get to do things like the Hot Metal Bridge and others to make it happen. And without that kind of leadership, it would have been very hard to do this. But let me just say, the real impetus of this, what I think is interesting about what we're going to do today, is I have never seen something nationally like the Rails to Trails effort. It was a spontaneous effort. Long before these laws existed, or we were talking about it, there were people out on the Montour Trail that were trying to get that in place. And long before I was involved heavily in politics or ever thought about being mayor, there were little pieces we were thinking about doing. And slowly, we all got together and began to imagine. And then, of course, there was Linda Boggs, right? Up and down the trail all the way to Cumberland, there were 20 groups probably that sort of spontaneously were trying to take care of their little section. We were doing that in the city of Pittsburgh. And Linda said, let's put it all together and think about going all the way to Washington. Most of us are so focused on our communities, it was hard to imagine that. And so for us to make this connection really says a lot about who we've become, about how we work together as a community, and how people work together. And so this is really about citizens, not elected officials, citizens sort of saying, this is something we want in our community. You know, I go around the country and speak a lot, and I often say, the first thing I say to people, so if you have a young son or daughter, where do you take them to ride a bike to learn? Do you take them to a Walmart parking lot? Or do you take them on a great trail? What would you prefer to do? What we were doing, we were taking our kids to a Walmart parking lot. I would take TJ, when he was young, down by where Three River Stadium was in the parking lot to learn how to ride a bike. What a terrible way to use your community. So each of you turn to the person next to you and pat them on the back. Tell them, great job.
Good job.
Okay?
Good job.
Good trail work.
Some of you heard me.
Good riding.
You know, when we were thinking about doing this, what I learned, even though we have the rivers, everybody wants their own waterfront. So when Alcoa was going to build their headquarters on the north side, they thought all of you that ride bikes, if you were behind their building, were going to break in. You were going to be security risks and steal things. Have you ever realized how every time you try to do a trail, people are worried about these people on bikes? And so Alcoa didn't want that trail there. And we said, we really want you to build your building there, but the trails needs to be there. And then PNC Bank, when they were building their operation centers, had put their building all the way up against the road, Grant Street and the Parkway. And I remember calling Tom O'Brien and saying, you need to move your building back. And he said, it's going to cost a lot of money to design that. And he did design it. He moved it back, put locker rooms in for his employees, put his cafeteria along the trail. And then there's the famous UPMC Steelers Sports Medicine Facility, which you will ride by. But I want you to know this story. So Jeff Romoff and Dan Rooney come to us and say they want to build a world-class sports medicine facility at the Steelers headquarters and practice fields. And we said, great, we'll love to work with you. We owned that property. And they came back with a design, and of course they wanted the riverfront view. So they put their buildings right on the river. And we said, no, it's not going to work like that. You need to move your buildings back. We get the riverfront. It's going to be a continuous public park. And Dan, true story, Dan Rooney and Jeff Romoff asked me to meet him at the Duquesne Club, and the waiter had to come over to ask us to keep down because we were yelling at each other. They were moving that whole complex to Pacific. And I said, you know, we really want you to be here, but we get the riverfront. And so Dan's big objection was, if I build that, if you put that trail there, I can only build 4 80-yard football fields. So when we ride by that, now you'll know why the Steelers can't score when they're in the 20. by piece we put this together. All through the Mon Valley, Linda and the other leaders here absolutely focused on, for years, U.S. Steel wouldn't budge. And through Linda and others' charm, look at what we have. So this is a remarkable story. It will change people's lives. People will, like Mike, who had not been on a bike maybe for 40 years, will now get on a bike because they don't need to worry about a car. It will bring young people with their kids into the city and into these communities, and they'll want to live here because this is a wonderful asset. We've changed our region. Congratulations.